My name is Arash. Maybe for the world it's just a name, but in my family, it was always a punchline. Since childhood, my dreams had been bigger than the walls of our small house. While other kids played with toy cars, I dreamt of owning real ones. Whenever I spoke about my ambitions, laughter was the only reply I received, and the loudest laughter always came from my elder brother, Rehan. He was the golden child, top of his class, star of every sport, praised by every relative, and me, always the shadow, the afterthought, the one people compared with disappointment in their eyes. Rehan made sure I never forgot my place. In front of friends, relatives, even strangers, he would laugh and say, "This is Arash, he's the embarrassment of our family." He said it with a smirk, as if it were a harmless joke, but each word cut into me like a blade. Those words followed me into my nights, echoing when I was alone. They made me question myself, made me wonder if I truly was a mistake my family had to bear. I stayed silent. I never fought back, but deep inside a fire was born. A fire that whispered, "One day I'll prove him wrong. One day he'll regret every word." Silence became my shield. I stopped arguing when they mocked me, but inside I was building a world of my own. School grades were average. My report cards never made it to the living room wall like Rehan's trophies did. But my heart told me that life was not measured in grades or medals. It was built on vision. I carried a small notebook everywhere. In it, I wrote ideas, apps, businesses, inventions. Each page was a seed of hope. But whenever I dared to share those ideas with my family, the response was always the same. "Arash, stop dreaming. It's beyond you." Even my friends laughed at me. "Bro, you start a company. You can't even pass math without copying." Their laughter hurt, but I kept writing. Every night, when the world slept, I stared at my notebook under the dim light, sketching plans. My first startup failed. Then the second, then the third. Sometimes I ran out of money. Sometimes a partner betrayed me. Each failure left scars, but none of them killed the fire inside me. I remember staring at the cracked ceiling of my room after yet another failure, and whispering to myself, "If they call me the family's embarrassment today, one day I will be the family's pride." I didn't know when that day would come. All I knew was that I would never stop. Years of struggle finally began to bear fruit. After countless failures, I launched a new startup, TechNova. It wasn't fancy at the start. Just me, an old laptop, and a rented room that smelled of dust and rust. I worked day and night, writing code until my eyes burned, making calls that no one answered, sending emails that were never replied to. But I didn't stop, and one day one investor listened. That one yes changed everything. With funding, TechNova grew faster than even I had imagined. Within months, we had thousands of users, then tens of thousands. Suddenly, people who had laughed at me were now asking, "Wait, Arash, isn't this your company, the one everyone is talking about?" My story began to appear in local newspapers. Journalists wanted interviews. Investors wanted meetings. For the first time in my life, I wasn't invisible anymore. At home, the air began to shift. My parents, who once sighed in disappointment at my choices, now looked at me with quiet curiosity. My relatives, who once ignored me at family gatherings, now asked me questions, but Rehan, he refused to change. He looked me in the eye and said, "Don't get carried away. This won't last. You'll fall like you always do." His words stung, but this time they didn't break me. Because deep inside I knew I wasn't the same Arash anymore. And then the moment came, Forbes, the magazine that celebrated the richest, the boldest, the most powerful. And there it was, my name printed on their list, youngest billionaire. The boy they once called the family embarrassment was now making headlines around the world. I will never forget that evening. The television was on, and the whole family sat together in the living room. Normally, nobody cared about business news, but that night, it was different. The anchor's voice rang through the room. Breaking news. Forbes has named Arash Malik as the world's youngest billionaire, the founder of TechNova, a company that is revolutionizing the tech industry. For a moment, silence fell. My mother's eyes filled with tears. My father's face lit up with pride I had never seen before. Relatives who once called me a burden were suddenly speechless. And then, my brother Rehan. The same Rehan who had mocked me for years, who had laughed in my face, who had called me the family embarrassment. He sat frozen, his lips pressed tight, his eyes betraying the storm inside him. I looked at him, and for the first time I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel hatred. I only felt victory. Because my revenge had never been about humiliating him, my revenge was my success, the sweetest part. The world now recognized me, not him. Strangers looked at Rehan and whispered, "Isn't he the brother of Arash Malik, the billionaire?" That was the twist of fate. Once I lived in his shadow. Now he lived in mine. My parents hugged me tightly. My phone buzzed endlessly with congratulations. And there was Rehan silent, cornered by the very words he had once thrown at me. I didn't need to say anything. My silence was louder than his insults had ever been, because the boy he called an embarrassment was now the man who carried the family's name to the world. And that was my sweet revenge.